And we are live. Hello, Team Phoenix, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is your girl, Kate Mimi. I wonder how you're doing. It is a beautiful, brilliant Sunday noon, or is it Sunday morning? Depending on where you're watching us from. I am so happy that you're here. It's going to be a lovely discussion today because we're going to be talking to someone who has held the dignity of women in her hands. We will be seeing what it means to be a nurse in Kenya and what nurses are actually doing to create a difference. So, if you have not shared this link with your friends, grab your phone. Yeah, let's forward this link, share it away in your WhatsApp statuses. Tafadhali. Okay, share this link. Let's do this, people. We need to share the link. We need to invite people so that they can come and watch. You can comment. Remember, you can just comment and you can tell us your thoughts. You can ask questions. Okay, so I will shortly be calling my guests, as you may have seen from the different channels. My friend and my mentor, I'm happy to call her a mentor, is Betty Kasioka. Betty is a director. She is the former director of nursing services in Kiambu County. But you know what? I'd rather she introduces herself. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce Betty Kasioka. Hi. Hello, Madam Betty. Habari yako?
Hello, Kate. Nzuri sana. Karibu Kenya.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good morning. It's morning over here.
All right.
Yeah. So, Mom, for the sake of people who are watching and for the sake of everyone, please introduce yourself.
My name's Betty Kasioka, a nurse by profession. I has worked as a nurse for 35 years in Kenya, working for the government of Kenya. I started my nursing career in 1985 at
Oh my
KMTC
gosh.
Mombasa.
What?
Yes, in 1985 in KMTC Mombasa, where I trained as a community health nurse at the certificate level. Then later on in 2005, I went back to school and did a diploma in community health nursing. Then in the year 2010, I went and did my Bachelor of Science in Nursing at the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton.
Wow.
And right now, I'm doing my master's in project management.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes. Continue.
I'm a nurse who is, apart from what the government pays me to do, I'm very passionate about women who suffer from fistula, their families and the communities around. And I reach out to the women from the community and ensure that they get treatment for the female genital fistula free of charge.
Amazing. Madam Betty, Yani, you have come from a certificate to a diploma to a degree, and now you are at a master's level.
Oh, yes.
I have a very quick question. Why nursing? When did it all start? Where did this passion come from?
To be very truthful, I didn't start my college life as a nurse. I was at the Kenya Polytechnic then. That was 1984 training as a secretary or a typist. And then my dad told me there was something called nursing. May his soul rest in peace.
Okay.
And he helped me to apply, and I went did an interview, and I was called to Mombasa KMTC.
Okay.
Actually, as I was going to Mombasa, I didn't know what nursing was, but I went because it was Mombasa and I had never been to Mombasa.
Okay.
2 weeks into college is when I started understanding what nursing was. When we finished, when we were going through we call it the PTS block, preliminary training school block. That's when I started knowing what nursing is, and I've grown into it up to this moment.
Wow. It has been quite a journey, and here you are, and you're looking still amazing, and you're doing masters. I do not know what excuse I have. Mom, you've talked about the passion that you have for obstetric. I call them obstetric fistula. You've corrected me and told me that they are female genital fistulae. And I want to know, because Mom Betty, you may not you may not remember, but there's a time you came to a hospital that I worked at in Kiambu County. And back then, you came with the then patron of healthcare workers in Kiambu County, the former First Lady, Madam Philomena Kabogo. There's a time you brought her to a facility where I worked in, and you talked passionately about midwifery. I was working in maternity back then. You cannot remember this. But from that time, the next thing that I heard was actually you fighting obstetric fistula with a passion. So my question is, number one, what are they? What are these female genital fistulae? What are they? And where did this start? What was your first, what really drove you to getting into this campaign? Please tell us the story.
Okay, the female obstetric fistula is an abnormal communication between the birth canal and the rectum, that is where the stool passes, or the urinary system, such that when the hole occurs, instead of urine passing through the urethra, or rather the urine canal to get out of the body, it pours into the vagina and pours out day and night, 24/7. And the stool fistula, when there's communication between the birth canal and the rectum where the stool is supposed to pass, the stool passes into the vagina and comes out through the woman's vagina.
Wow.
And in the society, a woman who has a rectovaginal fistula is more accepted than a woman who has a urine fistula, because the stool comes out when it's formed. It comes through the vagina. But a woman with a urine fistula, or VVF, vesicovaginal fistula, the urine cannot be stopped. It flows day and night, cannot be cleaned, cannot be stopped. So such a woman smells awful 24 hours, 365 days. And majority of them do not even know that they are suffering from a fistula. They think that it's normal to have urine flowing or stool coming out through the vagina. And I remember when I was at the campus in between 2010 and 2013, there is a classmate of mine who used to work with an NGO that was called Freedom from Fistula Foundation. She's Margaret. So she used to tell us small things about the fistula, but we would not really understand. So one time the Kenyatta University teamed up with the Freedom from Fistula Foundation, and they said that they would want to do a fistula camp in a hospital where they will be accepted and they would work as a team. So Margaret told them that I know of a nurse in Gatundu Hospital. That time I was working at Gatundu Level 5 Hospital as the nursing services manager. And I know when we go there, we will be attended well, and we will get many clients, and we'll be able to work as a team without many hiccups. So the team, that is the Kenyatta University team, and the Freedom from Fistula Foundation team, came to Gatundu, and we sat down and planned a fistula. And over 300 women were done surgery during that fistula camp.
Wow.
And that is when my passion of helping fistula women came up. Yes, women came from all over the country. I remember there's one who was flown in from northeastern Kenya. Others came by road from all the counties in Kenya, and we were able to help those women. And I remember even a young boy came from Nyeri County. He had been done circumcision and he was leaking urine. But what we did is that we roped in the medical superintendent, who was who was Dr. Nyaga, the current chief officer of health, Kiambu County, and he was able to repair that young boy free of charge. So that is when my fistula for women And I mean, I hadn't gotten the picture that so many women could
Yeah.
suffer from silence, not knowing what it is.
Mm. Let me
Yes.
let me ask, Madam Betty. Number one, I am shocked that that is the state of fistulae problem in Kenya. Ma'am, for such a problem, what is the main cause? What really causes? Because I may know from my nursing education, but for the people who are watching us, please break it down to us. What really happens?
The, a woman is predisposed to getting a female genital fistula far from the time they are born.
Oh,
One, nutrition.
mm,
Ideally, a baby is supposed to be breastfed for 6 months exclusively without being given water or anything, unless drugs that are prescribed for 6 months, so that their growth
uh-huh,
can take a good plateau upwards.
mhm,
And then after that, they're supposed to continue breastfeeding for another up to 2 years, at least 2 years,
mhm,
with supplementary feeds. That's from 6 months to 2 years.
mhm,
And then as they grow, they're supposed to take foods from at least 5 types of foods from the 10 food groups.
mhm,
That is the vegetables, the nuts, the water, the starches,
mhm.
the
Proteins.
all those things, the minerals, that is a little salt here.
Mhm,
And as they grow and
mhm,
become young women, that is in the teenage years, those are the
uh-huh,
most critical years
okay.
when the girl is supposed to eat very well. We
Mhm,
no longer talk about the balanced diet, we talk about those food groups that I've talked about.
mhm.
Unfortunately, during those years, those are the years when our girls want to eat potato chips, crisps, a
Yeah,
lot of starch, things that
yeah.
will not help the pelvic bone to grow well.
Oh,
So as they continue to grow, they grow
mm,
with contracted pelvises because there are inadequate stores of calcium
mhm,
to help build their bones and their pelvises to be adequate for the baby to be able to pass through.
uh-huh,
Okay, it has happened. The woman already has a contracted pelvis, or probably, and a pelvis is where the baby passes through when it's
mhm,
being born
uh-huh.
to the world.
That's true.
Okay, it has happened. These women get pregnant
Mhm,
without pre-pregnancy counseling and
mhm,
preparation, like taking some supplements or proper foods,
mhm.
and they get pregnant. Some of
Yeah.
them very early,
Mm,
because you can find that girls get pregnant from 9 years, even below 18 years. That
uh-huh.
time their tissues and their bones are not mature enough to be able to carry the weight of a pregnancy and also allow a baby to pass through.
Okay.
So once they get pregnant, sometimes they don't attend the antenatal clinic.
No.
Others already passed through the female genital mutilation,
Oh, yeah.
forming a scar on the reproductive system.
Mm,
So they don't come to the clinic early enough. And
mm,
in Kenya, women are supposed to attend for 8 antenatal visits,
mhm,
where each visit they attended to comprehensively, as though they will never come back again.
uh-huh,
So they don't eat properly in pregnancy.
mhm.
Some of them develop anemia, that is a low blood count.
Yeah.
Others get complications. Some
Mhm,
of them are carrying very big babies. And then the
uh-huh,
time of labor comes.
mhm,
And this woman delivers, tries to deliver at home.
uh-huh.
One, for the very young ones, they are not able to push the baby through because sometimes the baby is bigger than the girl's
Baby.
genital tract.
Yeah.
So they labor at home for 3.
Sorry.
Let's wait for the host to come back. The technical hitches happen here and there, but we are live.
I'm so sorry. There was a false fire alarm. I'm so sorry for that. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Thank you for waiting for me. We were talking about they try to deliver babies that are bigger than their birth canal.
Yes. So they live at home,
Mm-hmm.
try to push, some of them with traditional birth attendants.
Uh-huh.
And now when the baby cannot come out is when they come to hospital.
Okay.
That time, remember, the baby's head is made of a bone,
Yes,
and the woman's pelvis, where the baby is supposed to pass through, is made of a bone.
that's true.
So the pressure of pushing, the head pushing against the bone with tissues in between, which could be the bladder,
Yeah.
it could be the rectum,
Rectum, yeah.
it could be the urethra. Those
Mm.
tissues do not get blood supply during that time when the labor is obstructed.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
of course, the girl is taken for cesarean section,
Mm.
but the tissues already lacked blood.
Mm.
And they are at a risk of developing a fistula.
Wow.
So the process of necrosis takes place, that is the dying of tissues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That takes around 4 to 10 days for the dead tissue to fall off. 4 to 10 days post cesarean section, the woman is at home. They've already been done the CS, they've gone home with the baby, but most of the time the baby will have died in the uterus. So when they are at home, they start leaking urine. Some start passing stool through the vagina. They don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
And when they come back to the hospital with such issues, a big challenge is experienced because during our training as nurses and clinicians and health professionals, very little is talked about the female genital fistula. So sometimes we'd come to the clinician's room, they say, I have urine coming out from my vagina. The next thing is take a urine sample for urinalysis. It comes back, it's normal. They're given medication and they go back home.
That's true.
They are not even examined, a very big challenge that we have around the world. Very few clinicians and nurses examine patients. And even at times when they examine, they do not know what to look for. So the woman goes back home, stays with the problem, year in, year out. I had a lady who had urine fistula for 30 years.
Oh God, no.
She had been in hospital, in and out of hospital, and she was pouring urine day and night. So when I came to this office, I talked to my nurse in charges on how to examine patients. So that was in 2022. That lady was examined and they called me and they said, this is the thing that Betty talks about. So we went and examined and found a very small fistula, which she has poured urine through for 30 years.
Wow.
Yes, she was married and she had contracted pelvis, which came about as a complication of having been injected on the nerve when she was very young.
Oh no.
Of course, the leg shortened and the diameter of the pelvis became small. So she delivered her first baby in one of our hospitals in 1992.
Okay.
Yes, very little was known about the fistula at that time. And she got another 11 pregnancies, but she has only 2 surviving children who were delivered through cesarean section. And all those years she had been pouring urine. So the husband, of course, ran away. He went to live with another woman.
Of course.
And unfortunately, that woman's husband had been away on a mission. He was an army guy. So when he came back and he found another man and his wife, he beat him up and killed him.
Oh no.
Just because we did not examine that woman, just because we didn't know what the fistula was.
Wow.
Later on, after the man died, she even changed her religion and tied a turban on her head for the fistula to heal. Of course, a turban cannot close a hole that is
No,
pouring urine.
no.
But we're glad in 2022,
Mm,
I took her to hospital and she was
mm,
able to be repaired free of charge. I work with some organizations
mm,
where I'm able to get clients for them from the community, or rather from the society,
mm,
and take them for treatment free of charge, where
mm.
those partners usually pay for the surgery. Otherwise,
Surgery.
if today a woman said, I'm going to some hospital to go and be done fistula repair, it could cost around Kenya shillings 300,000.
Wow.
A
This is
lot
what
of money.
Betty, this is what I'm saying. You are literally restoring the dignity of women, and I cannot
Mm,
thank you enough. I feel sad that someone had to suffer, Jesus, for over 30 years, and they had been through the hands of healthcare providers, from a clinical officer to a nurse to a doctor, a surgeon, and not one of us, not a single one of us had detected this problem. So, Betty, from the bottom of my heart as a fellow woman, thank you so much for fighting for the dignity of women and
mm,
being a voice for women, especially those who are in the community who are told that they have been bewitched. We have to be
mm,
very real about our African problems. Whenever an
mm,
African cannot explain a healthcare condition, they resort to number one, it is a curse. Number two, it is being bewitched. And number
mm,
three, there are some ancestors who want some libate poured so that you
mm.
can get healed. So, Betty, you are breaking that barrier hard and fast, and it's only God who can repay you. Let me ask you, Betty, you have told us a lot of things about what predisposes a woman to getting a fistula. You've told us about poor nutrition, which leads to low calcium in the body, therefore giving us a contracted pelvis. That is a very small pelvis in layman's terms. You've also told
Mm,
us about you've told us about genital mutilation and how
mm,
female genital mutilation and how it forms a scar on the birth canal, making it very hard to, for those muscles to expand and contract during childbirth. You've also
mm.
told us about women giving birth in the community. And you've mentioned something that I am trying to get to, traditional birth attendants, and how they sometimes are unable to help our women. Yet, Betty, and you will bear me witness, in our community, traditional birth attendants are quite important because some of
Mm.
the women cannot even reach, some of the areas. I'll give you an example of Turkana, Isiolo, Samburu, and all those arid and semi-arid areas, including some parts of Eastern Province, to be quite sincere with you. So before a woman in labor gets to a hospital, it's quite a distance. So my question is, how can we rope in traditional birth attendants, and what can we tell them when it comes to childbirth in the community, and how can they help us?
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, women are delivering in the homes of traditional birth attendants, and the women have tried to play a big role because some women, of course, cannot afford to pay for health insurance, which is supposed to pay for their bills, and others do not have money to pay cash. So they don't have another option
Mhm,
except going to the traditional birth attendants
mhm.
and paying them with a chicken or a
Chicken.
sheep.
Mhm,
Yes, because they do not have money to pay. So I thank God for the new program where more than 100,000 community health promoters have
mhm,
been roped into healthcare, where they take care of several homestays around their village, and they
mhm,
know each and every woman that is pregnant. I
mhm.
have taken a personal initiative
Uh-huh.
to train community health promoters in Thika
Mhm,
Town sub-county where I work, and all of them are able to take a history,
mhm,
suspect a fistula,
mhm.
and send the client to me.
Okay.
So with those community health promoters, they'll be able to reach each home and rope in the traditional birth attendants and tell them the importance of skilled care for women when they are pregnant and
True.
when they are delivering their babies,
Mm.
and postnatal care too.
Yeah.
Because,
Amazing.
like you said,
Mm.
majority of those girls have been done FGM, that is
Yes.
female genital mutilation. They tear
Yes.
from front
Yeah.
to back.
To yeah.
It's one opening that looks
Yes.
like this.
Yeah.
And these women do not know that they have a problem.
No.
They just walk around
Mm.
and the stool just comes out. They don't know whether it is a problem. But what I do is that every social media page, or
Mm.
rather platform in this country, I
Mm.
ensure that I put the symptoms there. Do you know of a woman who
Mm.
tore during birth
Mm.
and was not stitched, or was stitched and the stitches came out?
Mm.
Cannot hold urine,
Mm.
cannot hold stool.
Mm.
Or when they sit
Mm.
on standing up, fat comes out from the front. Those are signs of a fistula. And I put my number there, and many of them call me. Actually, this morning,
Mm.
I called a man to explain to him what a fistula is, for him to allow his wife to go for repair.
Wow.
Because not all women in Kenya are empowered. Sometimes I have to talk to the spouses to allow
Yeah.
the women to go for the repair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Now that we are
So with
talking
the
about
CHP program, I think
mm.
Kenya is safe. If it
Uh-huh.
was possible, I would train all the ones in Kiambu County, and me and my colleagues will train all those in the whole country,
The whole country.
putting into
Yeah.
consideration that one, there is knowledge gap.
Yes.
Two, we have less than 10 fistula surgeons in the
Oh dear.
country.
The
Less than
entire
10.
country.
In the entire country, we have less than 10 fistula surgeons, because
Wow.
these things go with interests.
That's true.
Like when after we did the camp in Kenya, in Gatundu Hospital,
Gatondo. Yeah.
yes, the next camp was in Kenyatta Hospital, and I went there, and I was trained as a fistula care trainer.
Yeah.
We were 24 of us in class,
Mm.
and the rest have not gone on with this. It's only me who has moved on with it. So these things depends on the interests.
That's
We
true.
have less than 10.
Wow. I
Yes.
am shocked. Betty, while we are here, there is someone watching you and saying, by the way, that sounds like someone I have met. By the way, that sounds like my mom. That sounds like my grandmother. That sounds like, Betty, how can people reach you? I think this is the point where we use this YouTube channel. I know it is not a very big one. We cannot call it an influencer's YouTube channel, but believe you me, someone will one day come looking for information and they will stumble upon your number, and you will take part in continuing your mission of restoring dignity to women. How can people reach you?
Okay, I'll give my contact like
Yes.
I've always done in all fora.
Yeah.
My contact is 0725
Mm-hmm.
91
91
15
15
15.
15.
Yes.
0725
Yes.
91 15 15.
Yes. That's my contact. If you go to Facebook, you'll find my name, Betty and Kay. There are two Betty and Kay accounts there, but
Uh-huh.
not the one in a graduation gown. The other one who is holding this tall animal. What do you call it? A giraffe.
Ajira,
Yes,
I
that Betty and Kay
will
holding a giraffe.
I will also post your link in the description of this video. I'll make sure that I post the link to your Facebook, because
Mm.
that way people who come to watch can just click and be led directly to your Facebook account.
Yes.
Now,
And then I've linked my social media accounts.
uh-huh,
Whatever I post on my status, on my WhatsApp status,
mhm,
goes to my Facebook and to Instagram.
to
So
Instagram as
whatever
well.
information I post goes to the rest.
Wow. So as we are saying, now there are these symptoms that you keep saying, the ones that you say on every social media platform. Can we list
Mm.
them down? Then I will make them run under our live video.
Mm.
The signs and symptoms of a fistula, or when to suspect a fistula.
Okay, before we go to the signs and symptoms,
Uh-huh.
maybe we could talk about other causes of fistula.
Oh, yes, that is very important. Besides
Yes.
childbirth, of course.
One is childbirth,
Uh-huh.
having delivered what we call the normal way,
Uh-huh.
that is the baby coming out of the vagina.
Uh-huh.
Two, or even having that been done a cesarean section. There are women who are done cesarean sections and they develop, we call them iatrogenic fistulas. That is fistulas that occur due to a medical intervention.
Uh-huh.
Three, a lady or maybe in their young age may have undergone rape.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the woman may have undergone the female genital mutilation.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the woman may have had cancer of the reproductive system or
Mm-hmm.
treatment of the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the other women who also get road traffic accidents
Uh-huh.
and they get fistulas from the bones that are injured, that injure the urinary or the rectum of the woman, the urinary tract or the gastric tract of the woman.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Wow. What has previous sexual abuse history got to do with fistulae?
At times, especially when it happens to children, you know,
Uh-huh.
the genital tract of a child is very small.
Yes.
So if a man goes into a child,
Mm.
there's a likelihood that they would tear down the child's genital tract where it would join with the rectum and it
Yeah,
becomes one big hole.
that's true.
Then, when they are repaired,
Mm.
remember that is a scar.
It is.
So if they attempt vaginal delivery,
Mm.
the scar would just give way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that,
Mm.
Betty.
Mm.
It's interesting, the things that you're telling us, things that we may not think about on a daily basis. So thank you for opening our eyes. Signs and symptoms, or when can one suspect a fistula?
Okay. Now, if one gives a history of having undergone all those things that we have talked about, having delivered, having been done CS of any pelvic surgery, having been undergone sexual molestation,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come with one or both of these symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
To start with, there are two. We can classify them simply as two types of fistula, a urine fistula and a stool fistula.
Okay.
Let's start with the urine fistula, which is more serious.
Uh-huh.
A woman who has a urine fistula,
Mm-hmm.
and if it involves the bladder and the urethra,
Mm-hmm.
cannot hold urine. Urine flows out day and night.
Uh-huh.
Even if they put a pad, it gets soaked throughout, because let's equate it to a container that has a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you put water in that container, the hole will continue pouring urine. So this woman has to take fluids. The body has to produce fluids. So once the fluids get into the bladder, they just pour out through the vagina. The urine comes out through the vagina.
Mm.
Again, on the urine fistula, there is something we call the ureteric fistula. Maybe let's look a bit on the anatomy of the urine system.
Uh-huh.
The kidneys form urine.
Yes.
The urine is drained from the kidneys to the bladder through two tubes we call ureters.
That's
So
true.
ureters transport urine from the
The
bladder,
kidneys
from the kidney
to the
to
blood.
the bladder.
Yes.
So the ureters are on both sides of the body.
That's
So
true.
when a woman is pregnant
Mm.
and it's been done a cesarean section,
Mm.
most of our surgeons stand on the right side of the patient.
Uh-huh.
So when they are cutting the uterus to open the baby, most of the time the left ureter is nipped because our surgeons are right-handed.
Oh my God.
It may be severed completely or it may just be injured. So
Wow.
when after the cesarean section, the woman goes to the ward or even goes home,
Yeah.
they get symptoms that you not outrightly know that it's fistula. Some of them say they have lower abdominal pains.
Uh-huh.
Because when the urine pours into the area where the organs are, where the uterus is and the intestines and what have you, it forms something we call a urinoma. That is collection of urine. And you know, urine has very many chemicals that they stay in that area we call the peritoneum. And it makes a way, it makes a hole and passes through the lower side of the vagina and pours out.
Oh dear.
Such women don't pour out urine all the time because the urine is coming from up there.
Okay.
So they usually sit, but the moment they stand up, the urine pours out because, of course, the vaginal muscles are holding the urine there.
Okay.
But the moment she stands up, the urine pours out.
Wow.
At night when they're in bed, the urine pours out because they're relaxing.
They're relaxing. Yeah.
Yes. So the urine fistula can come about due to injury to the ureter or to the urethra or to the bladder.
Oh wow. After an operation like a cesarean.
Cesarean section, removal of the uterus, or any surgery that takes place around
The abdomen.
inside the pelvis. And most of the time, it's due to
Cesarean.
it's the left ureter, which is usually nipped or rather injured. Because most of our surgeons are right-handed.
Right-handed.
Because you see, like the uterus is very big, so getting there, you might get to the ureter and nip it.
Wow.
That's
Thank
about
you.
the urine fistula.
That is the urine fistula. Let's post that there. Now we talk about the stool fistula.
Let's talk about the stool fistula. The stool fistula occurs if the woman is torn, that is from the vagina to the rectum, where there is no, the communication between the vagina and the rectum is gone. And when it's torn, what we call the anal sphincter, that is the closure, or would we call it the nut that tightens such that, okay, in people who do not have a fistula,
Yeah.
when you want to go for a long call, you can feel it and you can be able to hold the stool until you get to the toilet.
Yeah.
But for
That's
such
true.
women, that sphincter is torn. So the moment it registers that her rectum is full and she wants to go and pass stool, the moment she wakes up, she doesn't even reach the toilet. All the stool pours out. Again, if she develops diarrhea, the diarrhea flows out like urine because there's nothing to hold it. Because if it was the hard stool, at least it's held around somewhere there up in the rectum. But if it is diarrhea, there's no way it can be held. So it just pours out anytime, any day, anywhere, in public transport, in church, wherever. Another classification of the stool fistula is where, yes, the woman is not torn. But due to what we call the pressure of the fetal head against the rectum, that is the rectum, and the rectum is between the fetal head and the pelvis.
Yes.
So as the fetal head presses, The rectum is here in between. So it
Yes.
develops a hole. Yes, you cannot see a tear, but a hole develops between the vagina and the rectum. So anytime the woman's rectum fills with stool, and because Palembele, in front there is a sphincter which is holding it not to come out.
Yeah.
The urine goes into the vagina through that hole.
The stool.
The stool goes into the vagina through that hole.
Wow.
So like when she goes to have sexual intercourse with her husband or whoever it is, the man comes out with stool on his organ. And of course, the stool is pushed towards the cervix, predisposing this woman to infections. Or every time she goes to clean herself when she passes stool, she always finds that stool is remaining in the vagina. That is if the hole is big enough. There are others who get a very small hole. Yes, stool does not go through that hole, but air that is trapped in the rectum goes into the vagina.
Wow.
So the woman, yes, does not see stool, but when she sits down for a long time, the air which was trapped in the vagina comes out from the front. We call that fizzing. Yes. So I remember one client was telling me that wherever she goes for meetings, she ensured that she would be the last person to leave the occasion, be it church, be it school, whatever it is. Because before, when she didn't know what was happening, people would accuse her of lacking good manners.
Okay.
And she could not even understand why air would come out through the vagina with a loud voice.
Wow.
But the messages that I send through social media, that Facebook, WhatsApp, and I always say, tell a friend to tell a friend. You never know who is suffering.
That's
She got
true.
one of those messages and she called me.
Wow.
And she was able to get surgery free of charge.
Oh, God bless you. Wow.
And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the partners that we work with. That is Fistula Foundation. I also train for AMREF, Flying Doctors, AMREF Africa and Flying Doctors Society of Africa. Whenever I'm called upon to train in all parts of the country, I go there. Of course, they facilitate me to go there, and we're able to teach healthcare workers on how to diagnose, because the biggest problem is diagnosis.
Yeah.
Actually, no, the first biggest problem is lack of knowledge.
Yeah. That's true.
By the women, their families, and the healthcare workers.
Okay.
And even those that have a little knowledge rarely examine women. But I thank God for the government of Kenya. They've really embarked on ensuring that every woman that gets a baby is examined 2 weeks post-delivery.
Oh, okay.
Remember the pathophysiology of tissue necrosis, where once the injured tissues lack blood supply, in 4 to 7 days, that dead part falls off. And that's when the woman develops the
fistula.
symptoms. So she needs to check. 2 weeks is almost the 10 days. Then another checkup at 6 weeks. Another checkup at 6 months. And of course, the first checkup should have been in the hospital where the woman delivered. That is within 48 hours.
Yeah.
At 2 weeks, at 6 weeks, and at 6 months. Yeah, as the woman is and the baby are being checked for other things.
Yeah.
All healthcare workers, and especially nurses, should be able to check on that.
Madam Betty, about Kiambu County, I will talk about Kiambu County because it's my county where I was working before I moved to the United Kingdom. And it is also where you work and where you have really done all this. Have you managed to roll out to all the health centers and the hospitals within Kiambu County on how to examine mothers? I'm thinking about Kenale Health Center. I was surprised that Kenale is under Kiambu County. Do nurses there and the clinical officers that run that health center, do they know how to examine women for fistulae and other very remote health centers within Kiambu?
Okay, not all the people know,
Yeah.
or at least the ones in Thika Town sub-county, like you're calling it Kiambu County has 12 sub-counties,
It
and the
does.
13th one is on its way.
Yeah.
So healthcare workers from public and private hospitals usually bring the reports to the sub-county headquarters once a month. That is around the 5th of every month. So when invited, I usually take this opportunity and go to the sub-counties and teach all the healthcare workers that are bringing their report. That is the nurses, clinical officers, and whoever else. I teach them on simply how to diagnose a fistula, and I give them my number. If they suspect, they just call me.
Yeah.
I've been to, of course, Thika Town sub-counties, well taken care of. The nurses, the clinical officers, the doctors, and even the health promoters.
Yeah, they all know.
I've been to Gatundu South sub-county. I've been to Roiro. And I've been to Kiambu Town sub-county, where I've been able to teach on that.
Wow.
Hopefully, I'll be able to cover all the sub-counties and teach them so that women can stop suffering from the fistula.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Betty.
And
And
I
it is
thank God, the governor is building very many healthcare facilities in almost all the wards, places where there are no health centers where a woman can go to deliver, and before where they would have to travel for long to get healthcare services. At least our current governor, Dr. Wamatangi, is building health facilities near to where the patients and the clients are.
Okay. And now
I have one challenge for nurses and midwives, especially those working inside the maternity. It's very, very important if you're working in labor ward to monitor that labor using the pantograph so that you can diagnose when the woman is getting a prolonged obstructed labor. Because if the nurse or the midwife does not use the pantograph to monitor the labor, that woman will go into prolonged obstructed labor, get tissue necrosis, probably later go for CS, but they still develop a fistula. Again, those that the nurses, clinical officers, and doctors who are working in whichever facility, be it public or private or whatever it is, there is need to educate our women on the signs, or rather the predisposing factors of the fistula. And if they develop the fistula, they need to know the signs and symptoms of the fistula. So that, because help is there, the problem is the women do not know that they're suffering from the fistula. The healthcare workers, including me, in our training, that is the training in college, the fistula was just mentioned.
It was just mentioned, yes, I agree.
It was. Have you ever seen one, Kate?
I have seen a fistula, but I have never been taught how to examine for one, literally examine for one. So I would easily miss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to educate the masses on the female genital fistula, prevention, causes, signs and symptoms. And we need to rope in the boy child.
Okay.
Because with the support of men, like I told you this morning, I was talking to a man and explaining to him what a fistula is. He just thought that his wife was careless.
Yeah.
That when they are having sex, the stool would come out.
Oh, dear.
But I explained to him what it is, and now he understands and is ready to support the women.
Wow.
Because when a woman gets a fistula, they are ostracized by the community.
Yes, yes, yes.
I remember one lady who developed a fistula in 1982,
Oh God, I
but we
was not.
repaired her in 2019. How many years? I thought, I
Oh
think
my
around
God.
38 years.
Oh my God.
Yes. Actually,
Mm,
from this beautiful county of ours. She got
oh,
it in 1982. She was done the surgery to remove the uterus, and she started pouring urine. The husband could not stand that, and he
of course.
committed suicide.
Oh God, no.
Yes, he committed suicide. Then the lady, of course, was chased away from that home. It was her first baby.
Mm,
She went back to where she was born,
mm,
and the family had to have a meeting
mm.
and decide where they will this urine pouring woman will stay. So they opted to build her a small iron sheet house near the river so that when the urine pours, it can
Oh
go
no.
to the river.
Oh God.
Then one time in 2019, when we were in a camp in Embu Level 5 hospital, this
Mm,
woman is brought by a neighbor. The neighbor got a nylon paper and placed it on her car. That was a new neighbor. She wasn't living there before, and
mm.
brought the woman all the way to Embu. So
Okay.
she was screened and she was found to have a very simple VVF. That is a small hole between the bladder and the
And the
and
urethra.
and the, and the vagina.
Oh
So
God.
she gets to the ward. When we go to camps, I love working in the ward, right? Because I
Mm,
just love being a nurse.
mm.
And so she comes and finds me. So I tell her, sit down, dear. Then she looks at me and tells me, the first thing you should know is that I have no friends. So I ask her, why don't you have friends? She tells me, it's because I smell. So I hugged her and told her, I'm your friend number one, and ensured that the next day she was number one in the surgical list. So she was giving me a story where she would go to the market and try and buy some stuff. And then the women there would say, don't sell to this one. She doesn't shower.
Oh
And it's not that she doesn't shower.
no.
For 38 years.
For that it, yes.
Yes. So we stayed in the camp in Embu, and
Mm,
after 7 days, we removed the urinary catheter. And that
mm.
morning, when I went to see her in the ward, she told me, just imagine, I'm not pouring urine. Unbelievable. Just imagine, because she was used to that life of pouring urine and
Yeah,
smelling.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, when the neighbor was bringing her to the Embu camp, the brothers and the sisters were asking, where are
Mm.
you taking a person who is about to die?
Oh God.
So she came and we repaired her and she became dry. And she passed away last year, but one in her sleep, peacefully but dry. Yes. So women are suffering in silence,
They are.
not
They
knowing what they're suffering from,
are.
not knowing where to go,
Yeah.
meeting people who do not know anything about repair of fistula and asking them for a lot of money.
Mm, mm,
Like
mm.
I
And
told you, there.
miracle healing.
Yes. And
Mm,
like now, the nurses who can really, really diagnose the fistula
mm,
in this country, I think we're around 6,
mm,
because this thing is interest. And I remember sometimes when I usually examine my clients in Thika Level 5 hospital, though I'm able to make a diagnosis by
mm.
taking a history.
Yeah.
Those that I have to examine,
Mm,
we pass through the crowd of women in the clinic. So
mm.
some of them would start doing, something is smelling, something is smelling. But I thank God that something never smells anymore. So I would
Betty.
urge women to reach out through my number. I will do a phone interview and know what
Mm,
it is. It doesn't
mm,
matter where they are in the country.
mm. You'll reach
They
them,
will go
Betty.
for it. Yes.
Thank you so much. Let me tell you. Sorry, I got emotional for a minute there. Look, it's Sunday, so allow me to get a little bit spiritual. In the Bible, there's this cripple who used to wait for an angel to come and stir the water so that they can dip themselves in and get clean. Betty, you've become this angel who is stirring the waters of women. Then they dip their hands and their feet in and they come out clean. So allow me to say, God bless you. This is a ministry
Amen.
that you're doing on behalf of the women of Kenya. And I hope
Mm.
this video outlasts us. I hope this video will make an impact to the life of someone who will be in secret scrolling through the pages of the internet trying to look for some information. And I pray to God that they come across your number. I pray that they come across you, because what you're doing is out of the abundance of your heart. It is not because you're paid so well by the government of Kenya. It is something that you go above and beyond. So on behalf of that woman who had suffered for 38 years, may God bless you. Betty, there is
Amen.
a question
Amen.
from one of my teachers, my online teachers. She's asking, please ask Betty if she has ever considered teaching this as an online course. So over to you, Betty. And if you need the contacts of this lovely lady, her name is Jane Jambi, I would be very happy to link you up with her, because we are talking about the age of the internet. Look, most of your clients are reaching out to you through social media. Today, Betty, we are able to do an interview while I am in the UK, you are in Kenya, through this internet thingy. So I believe if you were to go online with this, with the help of Jane or any other instructor, Betty, you're going to reach even more lives. And believe you me, you are not just speaking to women in Kenya. My videos are watched by women across the world and men across the world. So forgive me if your phone start blowing up because I know people will be in touch, because we are realizing that there is a knowledge gap, and that is what you're feeling. So thank you so much, Betty. As we move away from fistulae, and you have told us about we nurses who are working in the maternity department, and especially in the labor department itself, what to watch for. You've told us about 2 weeks examination post delivery. You've told us about six weeks post delivery. Now, Betty, moving away from that, there is a silent war in Kenya between healthcare providers and the public, specifically nurses working in public hospitals and the public. Number one, we are told we are very rude. Number two, we do not listen to patients. Number three, we treat patients as if they are a nuisance and not like people who actually need our assistance. Betty, for us to be able to help people, we must be able to create a rapport with them. So please speak to us as the public. Please talk to the public of Kenya today, and talk to the healthcare providers themselves in public hospitals. How do we bridge this communication or miscommunication gap?
Okay, maybe before we leave the fistula issue, I would like to give some statistics.
Please.
When one woman is repaired,
Mm-hmm.
know that there's another 50 who are not repaired.
Wow.
And as we speak, more than 2,000 women worldwide are waiting for surgery, and 90% is in Africa. So, like the Bible says, we need to talk about these things as we walk, as we sit, as everything. We need to talk about the fistula so that these women can know and get restoration. Coming back to the nurses.
Wow.
One, nurses are people like any other, and they can get emotional.
Yeah.
They go through stresses. We go through stresses just like any other person. And putting into consideration, one, the shortage of nurses worldwide.
Yeah.
Not in Kenya only.
No.
When one nurse does the work of 10 nurses, they're liable to get a burnout.
Yes, they will.
So sometimes we get outbursts and realize later that we didn't talk well to the client. So per se, nurses are not rude, but I wouldn't say there aren't some who are rude. They need to work on their attitudes. Two, we do a lot of work. Actually, nurses stay with the patients 90% of the time compared to other healthcare professionals.
That's true.
Like, for example, there's a time that I worked in some place in a postnatal ward. That is a ward where women deliver. I was alone with 100 patients. What
What?
quality of care? Yes. What quality of care am I expected to give if I'm alone with 100 women and 100 babies? Again, when we go to the monitoring of labor, there are the set number of nurses and doctors on which, but let's talk about nurses. In labor and delivery, there should be one woman should have one nurse. But at times you find the ratio is wayward. It's one nurse against 10 women who are in labor and delivery. At times, even the women understand and they say, yes, I delivered on the floor, but I saw the nurse was overwhelmed. She was jumping, delivering this woman and delivering the other and delivering the other. So at times, there is a lot of stress worldwide. That's why you see many nurses are migrating to the UK and the US. Why? There's a shortage of nurses.
I feel
And it's
personally
not that
attacked.
there aren't nurses. Nurses are there.
Yeah.
Very many, thousands unemployed. So maybe what I would urge the government of Kenya is to employ nurses in good terms, at good terms, because the goodness of healthcare is as good as its nursing care. As we speak, there are very, very many schools of nurses that are opened countrywide. And that one nurse in that maternity department is supposed to mentor all those students from different schools. Is it possible?
No, it's not.
So what crop of nurses are we bringing up? Yes, we try our level best, but if more nurses were employed, and of course other cadres, the doctors, the physiotherapists, like the physiotherapist is very vital in maternity, ensuring that women do not get stool and urine incontinence. But in our country, let me say since devolution, I don't know of any county that ever employed a physiotherapist. I don't know.
In maternity.
Even in the healthcare.
Wow.
I don't know the last time nutritionists were employed.
Wow.
I can't tell. Yet you've heard they are the first people to prevent women from getting contracted pelvises. Because they would teach these women on exclusive breastfeeding, how to latch the baby on the breast and all that, feeding, nutrition. And there are very many nutritionists who have been trained. But are they being employed?
No, they are not.
Nutritionists and nurses need to be employed, because that one nurse, where there is no nutritionist, that one nurse is the one who takes the roles of the nutritionist and the nurse.
That's true.
Of course, the quality of care will go down.
It will.
To be substandard. Then in the middle of it, you find that you're throwing tantrums. It's not your wish. But God help us. Yes. Because healthcare really needs to be revamped.
It needs to be. It really needs to be. And you've touched on things that are dear to my heart when it comes to safe staffing. So allow me, with a lot of audacity, to directly address CS Health, Madam Nakumisha. I am addressing you. As we approach 8th of March, which is International Women's Day, I know across all dailies in Kenya, we will get a lovely message about women in healthcare. But I want you to take this to heart from Madam Betty Kasioka. Please let us address obstetric fistula, but how are we going to do it if we do not have nursing care? From Betty, she's telling us that the goodness of any healthcare system is as good as its nursing care. So, Madam CS of Health Kenya, if we are meaning what we say about fighting female genital fistula in Kenya, then we need to employ nursing staff. We need to employ nutritionists. We need them as a matter of urgency. All those nursing interns who have not been posted, they need to be posted because we need them in Kenya in the workforce. This is from me, and this is to you, Madam CS. I know you will listen. If you will not, someone will tell someone who will tell someone who will reach to you on behalf of Betty and myself, employ nursing staff in Kenya, post medical and nursing interns. We need them in the working force. I had to do that, Madam Betty.
Thank you very much. At least Kiambu County is trying.
Mm-hmm.
Nurses are employed every year.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, as they're employed,
Mm-hmm.
others are exiting for retirement and others
Mm-hmm.
are going abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to keep on employing nurses.
We need to. And now that we are here, Jane is asking, which African country has the highest rate of fistula? Would you know?
I wouldn't know that, but what I know is that most countries are resource restrained,
Mm-hmm.
and not all the regions of each country.
Okay.
Mostly countries where women are not able to reach healthcare services in good time.
Mm-hmm.
Countries in war,
Okay.
women are not able to reach for those services, like the countries that surround Kenya. Actually, our fistula surgeons and nurses usually go to Ethiopia and Somalia to do repair of fistulas there.
Okay.
Those are the countries in war.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know about that. Betty, let's go back to staffing. Now, there are students right now. Sorry, I love this profession enough to know that we need to touch little bits sometimes, all the time. Students want to take nursing right now as we speak. Some will be starting in September. Okay, most of them will be starting in September. Betty, most of these students are heading into nursing because it will give them the prospect of leaving the country. Let us be very honest. They do not know what nursing is. They do not know that they will be expected to examine women and touch them, yeah? To examine a patient and touch them and find out, at their most vulnerable moments. So, I have only two questions. One, what can you tell them if they are going into nursing for the prospects of leaving the country? Number two, what can you tell us about the value of a diploma or a degree having gone through both of the programs? Thank you.
One, maybe some of them are like me. When I was going for nursing, I didn't know what I was going for. I was just going because it was Mombasa. But when I got there, I really loved what it was. Nursing is being the eye for the patient who cannot see, the hand of the patient who cannot clean themselves. You will be the one to clean them. The leg of the patient who cannot walk. You're that part of the patient that cannot function. That is what nursing is. You have to make, like now, okay, we talk about feeding patients. But when you feed them, what happens? They open their bowels, they urinate. Some of them cannot leave the bed. So what do? You have to clean it. I remember one time a university student in a place I was working. I like doing a lot of mbwa management by walking around, and I found that this patient was stinking. So I asked, whose patient is this? So the student said it's her patient. So when we went there, she said, "Oh, she has soiled herself." So I told her, yes, nursing is all about feces. You have to clean her and make her comfortable. And we did it together. I believe that was a turning point for that student, because they thought that because they are doing a degree in nursing, they're not supposed to clean patients. But the first patient's need is comfort, and comfort is cleanliness. Yes, having gone through certificate, diploma, and a degree in nursing, there is a very big difference. In diploma, yes, you're trained, but most of the time, you're not trained on the rationale of doing 1, 2, 3. At the degree level, you say, I'm going to give paracetamol. What is the mode of action of paracetamol? After how long am I going to check whether this paracetamol has worked? You have to give a rationale for what you're doing. That's the difference between degree and diploma. You have to give a rationale.
Yeah.
Yeah. You will not say, I'll just clean the patient. Why do you want to clean the patient? What is the outcome that you expect? In short, the nursing process is taken very seriously at the degree
At the
level.
degree level. Okay, good.
Yes. And
Mm,
without the nursing process,
mm.
it is witchcraft.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I need to quote
So
you
with
on that.
increased
Mm,
staffing numbers, we'll be able to practice the nursing process the way it should be
mhm.
practiced. Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Thank you so much. You have opened the eyes of many people. I know
Mm.
most of them are in churches and they will be coming to watch this video later. So thank you so much. What final words would you have for us about fistula, about nursing, anything that Betty wants to share with the world?
One, nursing is the place to be because you make an impact on a patient's life. And I thank God one of my daughters is a nurse in Germany
Wow.
and she really loves it.
Mhm.
The rest didn't want to follow nursing.
Mm,
Two, let's talk about fistula wherever we go. A woman who got torn during delivery, or who cannot hold urine, who
mm,
cannot hold stool, or
mm,
cannot hold their fat when they stand up. It just comes out, or even when they're having sex.
mm,
Those four things, let's talk about them wherever we go.
mm.
Let's um, subscribe to this channel and
Thank you.
send the link to everyone else so that the
Mm.
information can go because information is power.
It's power. I
No
agree.
woman should suffer from the female genital fistula while we are here. And
Yeah.
if they do, there is
Mm,
treatment free of charge. Just call me
mm,
on my number.
mm,
I'll be able to do a phone interview, make a
mm,
diagnosis, and send you to the hospital which is nearest to where you stay,
mm,
be it Eldoret, Nairobi, Bungoma, wherever it is. Our
mm.
fistula surgeons are spread around across the country, even Mombasa.
Wow.
Just make a phone call any time of the day or the night.
Wow.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Betty. Any other
Mm.
words for nurses? Oh gosh, I love this profession. Anything you can tell nurses when it comes to fistula or nursing itself?
Yes, nurses, let us take the history of our women. Let us do a physical exam. I always tell nurses, doctors, clinicians, and whoever it is, let us not rush to objective diagnosis.
Mm,
That is scan,
mm,
uh, urogram, and all those things. I always tell them, ask, look, and touch if need be. Women do not need to spend money to pay for an MRI where you
mm,
could only see a tear and get the
mm.
woman gets treatment. So ask, look, and
And
touch.
touch.
And if you're not sure, call me on my number.
Call Betty.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Betty.
Mm.
I have no words to describe how this has been.
Mm.
When we talked, I told
Mm.
you, oh, it's just going to be 30 minutes. And bet
Mm.
we have done close to 1 hour and a half. I mean, it has been eye-opening, even for myself as a nurse, because
Mm.
I really value specialty in nursing because it makes you an expert. Right now, I'm speaking to an expert. So you've
Mm.
really told me the bits and pieces that I was not even aware of. That's one. Number two, Betty, I want to say thank you from a nurse who is a deputy manager in the United Kingdom called Daniel Jenga. So, what you did when you were a director of nursing services, you helped this young man. He is a nurse. You
Mm.
helped him go to school and study mental health. So
Oh,
Daniel, when I told him yesterday that I will be speaking to Betty Kasioka, he actually told me, I saw you are live. You're going to be speaking with Betty Kasioka. I want you to tell Betty that I am the nurse I am today in the United Kingdom because of her. So Betty,
thank you.
thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and from my
Mm.
colleague and friend Daniel Jenga. He's quite
Mm.
grateful. That's not
Thank
all.
you.
There is a woman who sent me an inbox message on Messenger and told me to keep it anonymous. Betty, this is a lady from Embu County. She was diagnosed with fistula when you guys had gone to a camp and you helped her but she could not be repaired in Embu. You brought her all the way to Nairobi. She says, thank you very much. That's not all. Another
Mm.
lady wrote me an email and told me, you see that lady that you're talking about? She healed my mother. So, Betty,
Mm.
people may not always come back to you and tell you thank you, but I want you to know, and that is why I had to do it on record. I want it to go on record that you
Mm.
always remember what you're doing is touching lives, not only of patients, but also of nurses.
Mm.
And as someone who has seen your CV, I want to say it is an honor that you let me interview you today. So, from the bottom of my heart, asante sana for coming. Thank you so much for giving me the honor of listening to your story and, above all, to how you are restoring dignity of women across the country. Asante
Mm.
sana.
Thank you very much, Kate, even for allowing me to be in your YouTube channel so that we can spread this gospel of no woman should suffer in silence because of fistula.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. God bless you, Kate.
And you too. And thank you so much, Mommy. I will see you in camera next time. And sorry, I got emotional for a moment there. Asante sana. I call you my mom. I call you my mentor. You are amazing. What you do, and having experienced firsthand with my family, asante sana, Betty. Like, really, thank you so much for everything. And God bless you.
Amen. God bless you too, Kate. And may you continue
Okay.
doing the good job.
Amen, amen to that. Thank you so much. And until next time, Koheris.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.